Do you want to learn how to do this? This is going to be a quick tutorial, so follow along. First, you want to choose your canvas. You can choose whichever, but I'm going with this one. Here I'm rotating the canvas because I want it the other way. Next, you're going to add your image. If you don't know how to, click the Layers button, then the camera. Easy. Next, scale and position your image to your liking. Now we want to separate the hair strands so we could animate those. Get the lasso tool out and select a hair strand to start with. Next, duplicate what you selected and start erasing, so only the hair is left. Here, I'm changing the background type so I can see the white parts I need to erase. This part is easy. Just remove the white part. Next, you want to remove that from the first layer because we won't need it there anymore, since the hair strand will go over our first layer. Boom! Now we repeat that with each hair strand in front of the face. I'm going to speed this up, but remember, select the hair strand with the lasso, duplicate what you selected, and erase everything but the hair strand you're working on. I almost forgot, after you've separated your hair strand, make sure you remove that from your first layer. Now for the time lapse. Now that I'm done, I'm going to save my layers, then move on to alight motion. I'm on alight motion now, so I'm going to create my project to work on. Next, we're going to add everything we saved, and if you don't know how to do that, follow my arrow's steps. This is to add them all at the same time. Make sure you select your images in the order in which you saved them. Here I'm making the length of the images 4 seconds. Lastly, you want to click this button so everything you selected stacks on top of each other. Before we add any effects, add a square shape and make it the size of the first hair strand you are going to work on. Here I hid all but one, and I'm going to make sure the square is about the same size as the hair strand. After you do that, hold down on the layers and then group and mask them together with this button. Okay. Now we can add our effect. For this, we'll only need the wave warp effect. First, change the angle to 90, so the hair can go left to right. For the spacing setting, tone that down a bit. Same for the magnitude setting. Now for these extra settings, the anchor set that around 0.96. Now for the phase setting. Set keyframes at the start and end of your hair strand. On the first keyframe, set that to as high as you want it, but remember the higher you change it to, the faster your hair animation will be. I almost forgot one thing. I don't know what this does, but change that to 100. This animation feels slow, so I'm going to crank that up a bit. Whoops. Here I'm changing the magnitude higher than the spacing, so it flows more, if that makes sense. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now we're done with that hair strand. Next, we're going to repeat that grouping thing we did with the previous hair. Make sure the shape is the same length as your hair that you're grouping it with. Boom, easy. Now, since I'm lazy, I'm going to copy and paste the effect that I used on the first hair strand onto the second. Holy moly! Would you look at that? Super easy, I'm telling you. Just for the sake of the tutorial, I'm going to make this one flow the other direction. Same thing as before, except for the angle set that to -90. Another different thing is that for the keyframes, instead of making the first keyframe a high number going down to 0, it'll start at 0 and go into a higher number. Here I'm making the last keyframe, the same number we made the first keyframe for the other hair strands. Doesn't look quite right, so change the first keyframe's settings so it starts from the right a bit. Make the second keyframe a bit higher, too. Wow, doesn't that look beautiful? Now that you know how to do this, I'm going to speed this up and do the other hair strands and copy and paste the effects again so I can finally be done and over with this already. Just like that, we're done. That took longer than I thought. Anyways, what do you want to learn next? If you need any help, join my Discord server in the description, or if you just want to chill and hang out and share your edits, join for that too. Okay, now bye-bye.